Good Monday morning. Thanks for joining us. You're listening to Sissy Fogelstaller on Sissy Social Circle. I have two great guests in the studio with me today, and they're going to be discussing something very exciting happening here in Cleveland. I've got Matt Ryerson to my left, and to my other left is Johnny Clemens. Hello. So welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
And so everyone's heard about this because it was on the front page of the newspaper the other day. It's these crazy people. They've decided that they're going to run from Cleveland all the way to Boston.
Yeah.
When is this going to start?
We actually depart on April 12th, which is a Saturday, and it's actually in coordination with the local Lee University 5K event, the 65 Roses, and we're going to launch right with that big celebration, and we'll head out to Boston. It'll be an 8-day journey. We should arrive in Boston, should being the key word.
On your feet?
On our feet on the 20th, which is a Sunday, I believe. The day before Patriots Day. Big event in Boston is Patriots Day. Patriots Day is the day they obviously celebrate the patriotism and a lot of the things that happened in Boston Tea Party during that era.
Is that a big day for Boston? Is Patriots Day?
Yeah, it's crazy. They shut down the whole city. Literally all the businesses are closed. They make it a really big sports day, so that's the day, that Monday is the day that the Boston Marathon is run. They also have the Boston Celtics play at home, the Boston Red Sox play at home, and the Boston Bruins play at home. So they're all in this downtown area, and it's just one big party, celebration.
I would just forget it was Patriots Day, and I would pretend that they were all celebrating because you guys just
There
arrived.
we go. There we go. And so we're going to be a part of that celebration and try and raise some money to and really celebrate the spirit of overcoming, the spirit of resiliency. That I think is going to be so apparent in Boston this year. After what happened, the tragedy last year, the running community, the Boston community just won't be held down. So it's going to be a spectacular year to be up there.
Are there other cities besides Cleveland participating in something similar, or is Cleveland the only one?
Yeah, there is. And this whole thing kicked off a year ago. When the Boston Marathon happened, so many of us runners here felt it was really personal. And it was personal because when Johnny races, his family goes out and waits for him, right? They're waiting at the finish line. They're cheering him on. When I go to a race, my wife and kids are at the finish line. And when these bombs went off, they didn't actually even attack the runners. They attacked
the supporters.
Yeah. And so it was really, really personal for so many of us because we instantly visualized our families as a part of that. And so we felt like we had to do something, and that's where this idea to raise money and then hand delivered up there came about. There is another group that's doing a similar run, actually all the way from California.
You can beat them.
Yeah, and I tell you, we were teasing them. I've actually been in contact with this group, and so they're wimping out. What they did is they have runners from all over the country. So if they're running to St. Louis, they get local runners from St. Louis to run a leg 3 or 4 or 5 miles. And so they have like 1,000 runners over the course of the entire country, 3,000 miles, I think, which sounds, it's still a great event. We want to support them, and they've been very supportive of our project as well. But we've got 30 runners, and we're running to Boston.
And how many did you say they have?
They have like 1,000 or something. I think it's
They
1,000.
have 1,000?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. This is Cleveland. We can beat them.
That's right. No problem. No problem at all.
So now, how many miles will it be for them in comparison to your run?
Theirs is about 1,000 or about 3,000 miles, as I understand it. And they don't have all the route formalized yet, I don't think, but theirs is about 3,000 miles. And like I said, though, they don't have one set of runners. They pull runners along the way. So ours is tougher. Ours is much tougher. But they're raising money for a good cause up there in Boston as well. And so we I've been out reaching out to them. They've been very helpful with logistics and our planning, and we've given them some tips and some support. So it's and that's the way the running community works generally. You see, even in this Olympic era, you see these Olympic runners, you see runners, they tend to cheer each other on. They tend to support one another, and that's the spirit of this entire effort.
Who came up with the idea that Cleveland should be involved?
It's funny. it was a combination. So there was a conversation. We had a 5K event last summer to raise a little money to help out the victims of the Boston bombing. And so the event went really well, and we were really excited. And in the planning, I said, man, you know what would be really cool is if we just hand delivered this. We ran up to Boston, hand delivered it. Ha ha ha. Well, I was in a room full of these crazy dreamers, and you know how it is. You don't say crazy ideas to crazy dreamers because instantly they latched on, and Fred Garman and a number of other guys, Cameron Fisher, Tim Spires, Matt Carlson, a number of other guys, Matt Jenny. Immediately we were like, yeah, that's a great idea. I was like, no, I was kidding.
Will Matt be doing this too? Matt Jenny?
Yep, Matt Jenny's
that's
on
awesome.
Yeah, Matt Jenny's on the team.
Well, is Brittany going to do it?
Brittany Cook is on the team.
That's
She's
great.
going to be running as well. And if you want to check it out, and anybody listening out there, www.runnowrelay.org. And that's all one word, runnowrelay.org. It has the entire team. So
what if you're
check
not
them
a
out.
runner? How could you do it?
You can. There's a number of ways you
could
can
you
help
ride in
out.
a car? Right?
Yeah,
next to
actually,
you?
we have a couple of support team members that are driving vehicles because
Eating
we
their
have
cheeseburgers.
That's right.
Riding.
They're going to be support staff because we have drivers. We have 5 vehicles that'll be running the course with us, obviously, in support of the runners. So we have the need for support team. So if anybody's interested, but one of the best ways to help, quite honestly, is donate and to give money. Each runner is covering their own expenses. We have a number of great sponsorships. Cook's Foods here, Don Ledford Chevrolet of Cleveland, Holiday Inn Express. A number of organizations have donated services, money. Coca-Cola is giving us water and Powerade. So we're really taking care of on the expense side. So if you go to our website, runnowrelay.org, and there's a donate button there. When you donate 100% of your gift, not a single penny, not a fraction of a penny is taken out of that for administration. It all goes directly to our 2 charities that we're supporting.
Where will you stay?
Well, that's a good question.
In the car.
Possibly, because we will actually have runners on the course 24 hours a day, but we won't all be running. It'll be relay style. So Johnny will run a leg, and then he'll get in a van, and then I'll run a leg, and then I'll get in a van. Somebody else will run a leg. Each leg will be varying lengths and varying times. But Holiday Inn Express here, Richie Hughes and his family have been very supportive in connecting us with Holiday Inn Expresses on the way. So they're going to be very supportive, but there's not a Holiday Inn Express everywhere. Lee McChesney is one of our support team. He's the director of the YMCA, so he's reaching out to YMCAs. So YMCAs may be housing us, but there's not a YMCA everywhere along the way. There may be some sleeping in the back of a van. There might be sleeping in a tent.
What do you guys do? So the people that are running all night, some people are sleeping, some people are running.
Yes.
And then when you wake up, do you just sort of radio and find out where they are and say, okay, we're going to catch up?
Yeah, basically that's it. We have a pretty detailed route and estimated time of arrival. But, for example, Johnny here is a much faster runner than I am. So we will have a vehicle with the runner. So each runner, when they're on the course, will have a van or an SUV somewhere nearby. May not always be directly behind them, but it'll be at the next parking lot or the next transition area. So they'll always be connected and able to be hooked up with. They'll also be taking, we have a couple sponsorships we're working on for GPS devices. So, and this is kind of cool. This is good for us to be able to find our runner. But for people at home, they can actually track the runner. So they can go to our website, click on a link after April 12th and find out exactly where the runner is and what the progress is and some of the challenges. We'll be blogging along the way. And the Cleveland Daily Banner has really offered sponsorship, so we'll have an article in the paper every day kind of recounting the day's events. So it should be interesting.
If someone wants to donate money,
Yes.
where would they go? They go to the website?
That's probably the easiest. Go to runnowrelay.org, and there's a donate button. It's pretty easy to log on there. It's safe and secure. You can donate in any amount. Or go on to runnowrelay.org, find all the runners. and find them, and you can just give them a check as well.
What did you say as far as that? Mention again the two different charities that will go towards?
The two charities are really exciting. One is called Dream Big, and Dream Big is a Boston nonprofit that works with children, mainly girls, that are in struggling, challenging situations, and it really helps reach those girls through sports. And for most of us, and Johnny's, obviously an inspiration to a lot of us, but for me, sports, running in particular, had a significant effect on my life. And so we believe in that charity, and it's really in one of the most affected areas, not just by the bombing, but by the manhunt that followed. That's one of them, Dream Big. So half of whatever we raise will go to that. The other half will go to an organization called the One Step Ahead Foundation. That foundation is doing something extraordinary as well. Unfortunately, in that tragedy, several children suffered amputations. They lost limbs in that bombing. And the cost of prosthetic legs is extraordinary. On average, about $25,000 per prosthetic leg. The challenge with that is, as a child, you outgrow your clothes, you outgrow your prosthetic legs as well. So you can imagine if you had to purchase 7 or 8 of those over the course of your life. And insurance plans, the way they are today, may not cover the cost, and certainly won't cover the cost for multiple. So this foundation has agreed to give those children that suffered amputations in the Boston bombing, they're going to give those kids prosthetic legs for life. And so we want to support that as well, because one of the themes that we really talk about in this effort is we're running for people who can't run for themselves, and those children that lost limbs that day are great examples. They were there supporting their dad or their mom, cheering somebody on, and they were punished for no reason. And so it's a great opportunity for us to give back and do something for those kids and those families.
How many people were killed in the bombing?
I think there was a total of 3. There was one killed in the manhunt. A police officer was shot and killed in the manhunt, and then 2 were killed in the bombing itself. What was really tragic about this bombing is that the way those pressure cooker bombs are set up, they're not really set up to kill, but as much as they are to maim and injure. And so
because of the shrapnel,
right? And so there were something like 180 people that were severely injured. I think there were 27 complete amputations. It was pretty vicious. It was pretty violent. So we're
how many bombs were there?
2.
2?
2 bombs, yeah. There was one that was just a few feet from the finish line, and that was the video footage that so many people saw when they pulled out the guardrail. And then there was a second bomb that went off about 15 seconds later that was about 100 yards up Broylston, which is the finish line street.
And there were a couple that didn't go off.
Yeah, and of course they had a whole arsenal, and these two, we like to call them cowards. These 2 guys had a whole arsenal that they were ready to fight, and they obviously got in a number of gunfights with the police officers. And
I'm trying to remember who the people were and how the manhunt went. It went on for a little while.
Yeah.
And then do you remember the specifics on how they found the people?
They did. They shortly after, it was 2 brothers that were responsible, and shortly after, around the MIT area, they saw. Of course, if you remember, originally we didn't know who was responsible. We weren't sure what was responsible, and then they had all that video footage, right? People taking pictures, and then the security
and people didn't
cameras.
know if it was terrorists.
Right. And so there was security camera footage that caught them with the backpacks that ultimately held the bombs. So they were able to post their pictures, and once their pictures were posted all over the internet and all over the world, really, people started looking out for them. They spotted them outside of MIT a couple days later, if I remember correctly. There was a shootout, and the older brother was killed in that shootout. The younger brother got away and went into some neighborhoods around the Newton area. And they closed off the area, and that was, highly televised at that point. The whole area was on shutdown, lockdown, and they did a door-to-door hunt for this guy, and they found him, if you remember correctly, in the backyard in somebody's boat that they had stored in their backyard. He had slipped into the boat. They found him up there. Actually, the guy living there saw that his boat tarp had been removed, and so he went up and looked in, and he saw him in there. Immediately called the police, and of course the police swarmed the area.
Did he hold him there somehow at bay?
No, and actually he
the
got
guy
away.
Just stayed there?
He did. He was pretty badly wounded at that point. He had a number of gunshot wounds, and he was bleeding pretty badly. But he was arrested and taken into custody, and of course a lot of that still pending. So one of the terrorists, the cowards, one of them was killed in the initial events, and then the second one was arrested.
I see. Now, what was the background on those two men?
They were actually, they had come from...
Did they have terrorist ties?
They haven't totally figured that out. The older brother did, they believe, have some... he did research and had reached out to some terrorist cell groups. He actually, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, so forgive me, but I think they were from the Chechnya area, which is a highly Muslim, fanatical Muslim area with a number of terrorist cells. He had made a number of trips back and forth there, but their family came from there and moved to the Boston area, I think a decade ago.
Just two sons in the family, or do they have siblings?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so he's in jail, and has he spoken about it at all or given any answers?
No, not that I've heard. I think they did have some recordings of him initially responding.
But they're young, right?
They were, yeah, absolutely. The older brother was in his early 20s, and I think the younger brother was a student at one of the Boston colleges. I think he was 19 or 20. Yeah, 20 years old. So very young, yeah.
Wow. And he's not come up for trial yet. I'm sure he's still awaiting trial.
Yeah, and I think there's, complications with that and how they charge, because it was viewed as an act of terrorism. So is he an enemy combatant? Is he a U.S. citizen? And what rights does the Constitution give him? I think they're still sorting through that. I think ultimately, Americans can rest assured that he won't see the light of day again, that he's going to be gone probably for the rest of his life.
And probably have a hard time in prison, I would say.
Probably. And for us, it's really about, and I think you see this in the Boston area, it's really about the spirit of recovery and the spirit of resiliency, that those type of acts. What I think terrorists really, what they get wrong is that this country can be really divided politically. It can be divided religiously. We fight amongst ourselves. We tear each other down. We are really good at a country being critical of one another. But if you want to bring us together, attack us. And so I always find it interesting that terrorists don't seem to get that when they do a terrorist attack of this sort, that generally the country rallies together and it actually serves to unite us. And it was probably never more apparent than the first Boston Bruins game after the terrorist attack. They finally had the game. They had canceled a number of games, and they played the national anthem. And the singer, who is a famous opera singer, was singing the national anthem, and the crowd was so powerful in the Boston Bruin game that he stopped singing. And the Boston fans just finished singing the national anthem. And if you ever want to YouTube that, wow, that just make your hair stand up. It's just fantastic with the spirit of patriotism. So, I think that's really what our effort is about, is a part of that spirit of recovery, that spirit of resiliency, that spirit of overcoming that we see so many times in so many people in this country.
Yes, and prosecutors announced last week that they will seek the death penalty for that 20-year-old.
Well, there you
so that's
go.
another
breaking news right here, sis.
That's another way that Americans stand together. I'm sure no one would object to that. And if they did, well, they need to go live somewhere else.
Yes.
Because I'm sure everyone, would be supportive of that's justified and well-deserved. But I guess we can tune in and watch that. So with this race, you're going to be starting on April 14th.
12th.
the 12th.
Yes.
And where will you all meet? So will you have a cheering crew from Cleveland standing there to cheer you guys off as you run away?
Yeah, exactly. and you know what? We're going to invite the whole community out. So
also, real quick, if you have any questions for Matt or Johnny, the phone number here at the station is 614-5553. Last week we got a music request, but we're not doing but we're not doing that right now. We're just talking about the Boston Run.
Yeah.
But if you've got any questions on how you can be involved or anything at all you may be wondering, feel free to call in. So I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead and tell us about your runoff.
Yeah, we're launching with the 65 Roses race. So that morning, I think at 8:30, we'll be at the Lee University campus at the Paul Kahn Student Center. And we'll actually be launching right there at campus, and it'll be a huge crowd. Not just for us, it's a great event for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, another great charity. Bill Estes, the race event planner for that, has really graciously met with us and said, "Hey, we're going to make you guys a big deal." So we're going to launch from right there.
That's great.
Yeah, the first couple miles, I think all 30 runners will be running. So we'll all be in uniform, and we'll all take off
You guys all have
simultaneously.
T-shirts?
Yeah, really cool neon green Run Now relay shirts. And if anybody wants one of those, don't hesitate to let us know. We'll get them to you. But
I'd like to wear one and then run away with you guys, but then run back to my car.
There
Just
you
to
go.
make myself look like I was a part of it.
I like it. Consider yourself invited. You're in. You are in.
People would say, "I can't believe she's doing that." Then they'd see me the next day at Cook's.
Hey, I thought you left. Well,
No, I changed my mind. I was just waving and running.
There you go. Yeah, we're hoping for a big crowd there, and then we're actually going to run the 5K relay or the 5K course up to the courthouse. We're going to do some pictures and meet family at the courthouse right downtown Cleveland, and then launch again from there. So we'll actually have 2 launch sites that morning.
So is Don Ledford in Cleveland? Are they going to be offering vehicles to go? Is that their support? Or
Yeah, they actually are giving us 4 vehicles, which is
Wow.
unbelievable. Debbie Melton over there. If y'all
Yes.
don't know her, she's just extraordinary. She's incredibly philanthropic. She
Yes,
is giving
she
us
is.
4 vehicles to use for this entire trip. No cost. She just and you know, I said, "So how can we promote you?" She said, I don't need promoting. I just want to do it because it's the right thing to do," is her exact
That's
words.
her.
And I said, "Well, we're going to promote you anyways, Debbie, because this is too generous." But I just met with her last week, and she was showing me the vehicles and said, "What do you think about this? And what about this? Will this be large enough?" And she's just really supportive. In fact, it's a funny story. I went over to meet with her, and we were just going to ask for 2 vehicles, and we were going to try and figure out, because we needed 5, maybe 6 vehicles for the entire trip.
And she'll set you up with nice cars too.
Yeah, and she said, and I went in there with the of course the mistake of any fundraisers to ask for too little. I went in there and I was ready to ask for 2. Before I could even get it out of my mouth, she said, "Well, do you need 4?" I was like, yeah, we could use 4. And so she was really generous about that, and continues to be very supportive. And of course, like I said, Richie Hughes at Holiday Inn Express. The Cook family is amazing. Of course, they are the local owners of the Panera here in town. So go to Panera today. Panera is going to feed us the whole route. So wherever there's a Panera,
Oh, wow. You
along
guys
the
are going to
way.
eat good.
Yeah, and Cook's Foods is giving us all our snacks, the granola bars or whatever
Wow,
treats we need
beer?
along the way.
No.
I tell you, that might make the trip interesting. I don't know how many people would be running, but Cook's is really incredibly. Dan and Janie are incredibly supportive. Of course, Brittany's running with us, and
Now, is Dan going to run?
we're going to really push Dan to run in the beginning with us. We asked him.
He has so many obligations with work,
He
he might not
does.
be able to, but he's a
Yeah.
great runner.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic. He told me, I literally had this conversation with him. I said, "Dan, we'd love for you to run with us." He goes, "I can't run days back to back like that." And I was like, I see him running every day on the green. What are you doing? But you're right. I think he's got obligations
Call him out.
here.
Tell him,
That's right. Dan, we
see
want
you.
you. Yeah, that's right.
if you don't want us to believe that, you need to run at home indoors.
That's right. Get
We've
on the
seen
treadmill.
you. That's right.
But Brittany's strong.
And you've got 30 people.
Yes.
Now, do you feel like you of course, you have some that are stronger than others, but the minimum is that they run 1 hour a day.
Right. So
What if they do that in 15-minute intervals?
Well, and I'll just throw it here to Johnny.
That would be me.
I'm not the strongest runner. I think some of us are actually set up to run the Boston Marathon the day we arrive in Boston. So
that they're going to run this and then they're going to run that?
Yeah, both of us are actually running it.
You're both running the marathon, the Boston Marathon? Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's intense.
But I got to tell you something more intense, and this is extraordinary. I'm going to let Johnny comment on this because I've just been hogging the mic. But Johnny has committed to the idea, and we'll see. Injuries can play in this, but he's looking at possibly running a marathon every day on this relay. So he'll run 26 miles on day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way through day 8. Arrive in Boston, and then run the Boston Marathon following that. So I don't know what the total mileage on that. It's insane.
It's about 235 miles, but
in a week.
This is like Ragnar.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. That's kind of the spirit of it.
You can do it, Johnny.
Yeah, I can.
We believe in you.
But I'm not doing it just to prove something. I'm doing this to help out is the main cause. So if I'm not needed, I won't do that. So it depends on how everybody else does on their legs, and if I need help, I'll whatever
You're a good
hour
plan
it is,
B.
I'll do it.
You're a good support system.
Yes.
That if somebody feels like they've got to
So I'm just here for
bow
backup.
out, then they've got Johnny to help. And both of you have been in marathons before. You completed marathons, right?
Yes.
So you and probably
I
most
just
of-
did my first, to be honest with you, but I did Disney.
You did pretty good too, didn't you?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was the most magical place on earth.
And you felt magical when you finished.
I felt more magical at the beginning. But it was a good experience. It was. But Johnny's an old hat at this. How many have you run?
I don't know how many marathons I ran because during my training I do ultra running. I'll do I've done last year. I don't know how many marathons I did because I do it in my training.
Well, tell them what an ultra is because some people
Okay.
might not even know.
I don't know what an ultra is.
Yeah, listen.
An ultra is anything over 26.2 miles. So I've done 50 Ks and 50-mile races, and most of those are in a trail. So
Johnny, what is
that's
it
an
now?
ultra is.
When I say this, it's going to make me sound silly, but I know there are a lot of people listening that probably feel the same way. I feel like that kid. I used to say this when I was a kid. I can't run a lot because my side starts hurting. What is that?
It could be weak muscles. Not used
Could be
to,
fat,
Not
jiggling.
used to doing it. It's probably there's not conditioned for that type of training, but you just kind of have to kind of push through it, and then if it continues, it could be nutrition. It could be.
But I hear that from a lot of people that their side starts hurting after a while.
Yeah.
Those side stitches,
I've,
are those from...
I've had those too. So
Yeah.
there can be from a number of different things. I mean, overtraining, you can get them for lack of magnesium and stuff like that.
It's definitely difficult to run outside versus running on a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
So different, like keeping your
Oh, yeah.
balance, and then you feel sore everywhere in your abdomen because you're, trying to create that stability as you run. So different than running inside on a treadmill. It's a lot easier on a treadmill, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I train primarily on the road. Johnny
Yes.
runs on trails a lot, and trails make it even more difficult because you got to
Definitely.
watch your footing so much. So when he says he runs like a 50-mile trail run, it's hard to imagine how challenging, how difficult that is. Now he wouldn't say that, but it's unbelievable.
Well, most of the 50-milers, like the one in Chattanooga, they have a 50-miler. It covers about 6,000 feet of elevation gain through the whole race. So you're
so it's a ton of uphill. Is what he's
climbing
saying.
a lot. So it's but I like the trail a lot better. I like the mental challenge of it of always having something like stepping over rocks or running through a creek, and it's kind of breaks it up.
It's not so monotonous.
No.
Will you all bring more than one pair of shoes?
Yeah,
I will,
yeah.
And you've invested in a good pair, I'm sure.
Yeah. Everybody has their personal favorites. We don't have a shoe sponsor because with 30 runners, we don't want to push people into a shoe that they don't feel comfortable in. That's a big deal. But there's a lot of good shoes out there. I wear the Hoka 1-1, which is a new brand with a lot of padding. I'm a bigger guy, so I like that padding.
And where do you buy that?
Hoka 1-1, the most local distributor of that's Rock Creek down in Chattanooga.
I see.
And I tend to wear like the shoe called Solomon on the trail, and then I'll usually train in something faster when I do speed work, with like the Nikes or something. But on this trip, I'll probably be wearing the Hoka also because it's so many miles.
Do they
And
sell
it's-
running shoes over at Elliott's?
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I know. I
don't think so.
I got
No.
a great pair of boots over there, though. I great pair of boots, man. I tell you, I have a small farm, and that's where I get my boots.
Yeah, well, it's nice because it saves on shipping. You don't have to go online. You
Yeah.
can just drive over there, and they've got that great new store.
Yeah.
And they sell Diva and Chacos and
Yeah, they just
Justin's.
moved up the way in that old Blockbuster, right?
Yeah. So it's very interesting. And so, okay, so you're going to kick off about 8:30,
Yeah.
start running.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, the people that sleep at night, when they wake up, you'll probably be excited to find out where the runners
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
What they
What the
accomplished in the middle
progress.
of the night. And you may sit down at breakfast and say, that's it? That's all we did?
Well,
Why couldn't they have stepped it up a little faster?
It's funny you say that because we kind of mapped it out. And at times, I mean, when you think about 1,000 miles, and we put an average down about 6 miles per hour. We'll probably run a bit faster than that with our runners. But, we leave at 8:30. That whole day will end up that night or as evening approaches in Knoxville. You can drive to Knoxville in an hour and 15 minutes. So it's like, that's it. That's all the further. But, you got to remember, we're doing every mile of this by foot.
Is
So
it one person running at a time?
most of the time, I think we'll have a lot of pairs that run together and some smaller groups. We have some really exciting things. And when we hit Washington, D.C., for example, there's a running club in Washington, D.C. that's already committed to meeting us and going to run the main mall around the White House, past the Washington Monument with us.
awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
They're expecting somewhere between 100 and 200 runners to join us.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
So as they put it, hey, we'll run Forrest Gump style, man. You can run out front, we'll all get behind you. And I was like, this is going to be crazy. And so I think when you see that, and I think that's about a 6 mile loop.
It'll
from
look like you're being chased by a mob.
Yeah. And so, that's exciting. I think that's something where even if you're not scheduled to run, you'll be like, I want to run this leg. So I think you'll
Heck
see
yeah.
a lot of people get out of the van for that. New York City is going to be interesting. We're going to run the steps that Rocky ran in Philadelphia.
Too funny.
Yeah, so we're going to see a lot of really cool stuff. We're going to run Neyland Stadium. We got connection up there. It's going to let us into Neyland Stadium to run in there. So we're going to make this a really cool event. We're going to try and stop Sandy Hook Elementary, of course, where that tragic shooting was, and pay our respects there. New York City will hit ground zero at really timing. If it works out, we'll hit ground zero at dawn, which will be extraordinary to be there at that time of day.
Yes.
We have some connections right now. We're working with the Today Show and Fox News downtown New York to potentially have a visit there and do some on-camera stuff with their morning show. That'll be, I think, that Thursday morning. We'll make sure we'll promote that date when it gets locked in. But
So even if you've got 30 people right now committed to run,
Mm-hmm.
there's still a little time. If there are people listening that would like to get involved, could they join to run?
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. We kind of rounded out our team around the new year, and then we had somebody get an injury, and that happens in running. That happens, and he just knew with 8 weeks of recovery, there's no way he could do it. So he bailed out, and we pulled on somebody new to the team. So absolutely, if somebody's really interested and they're a runner and they're saying, man, I want to be involved somehow. Reach out to us and we'll see what we can do. The reason we selected 30, our goal is 26. 26 being symbolic of a marathon. There's 26 miles in a marathon. So we wanted 26 runners to represent 26 miles in the marathon. Plus, it equals out nicely that everybody would have about a leg a day. Every 24 hours, you'd have a leg of this run. So we actually strategically selected 30 with the expectation that there'll be injuries, not just in the training, but even on the trip up. Day 3, somebody pulls up lame and they're hurt and they can't run again. We don't want to get down to like 18, 16 runners, 15 runners, because then people are really going to be carrying a heavy load. So
You may not have more than 2 or 3 running at a time just to save the other runners.
Right, exactly.
Although
exactly.
everyone may want to run.
Yep.
You've got somebody that's a long-distance runner and they're used to that. They may say, I want to run 6 hours today.
Yeah.
But you may have to limit that to just a few.
And that's why we love Johnny on the team.
Yeah, Yeah.
That's kind of like when you're in school and you get paired in a group for a group project. You always want to get that real smart kid that goes the extra mile in your group.
That's right.
Elevate your grade.
I want Johnny in my van. That's right. Oh, Johnny, my leg hurts today. Maybe you could take my leg too.
We need that. We need those strong people for the slackers.
There you go.
The rest of the people who are slackers.
Absolutely.
And so now you've got the group up there that's going, and they're going to run just a little bit a day. Is there a certain requirement for each individual runner to raise?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. Our goal is to raise $50,000 total, which, when you do the math, is about $2,000 per runner.
And you'll divide equally between the two charities?
Exactly. 50-50 split, supporting both organizations. We're off to a really good start. We actually have a married couple that's already raised almost their full amount, their goal. Now they're going to continue to try and raise money. We actually have one person that's raised over $10,000 already for
Wow.
this. Yeah, so we're well on our way to our goal of $50,000. We're not going to stop there. If we could raise $100,000, we'd love to raise $100,000.
Does each person have a minimum of $1,000 that they're trying to raise?
No,
or is it a personal goal?
Right, it's a personal goal. We're just trying to get everybody to raise $2,000 because we knew that would put us above that $50,000.
$50,000 is an achievable goal.
I think so. With 30 different runners. And this is really our response. I don't know if Johnny's experienced this, but when I've pitched this, when I've talked about this, people are excited and enthusiastic and
It
want
puts
to get
Cleveland
involved.
on the map.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about this is not every community does this sort of thing, but our community does. It seems like we are constantly doing some project to help people, whether it's in tornado relief or whatever. Joplin happened. It was a terrible, tragic tornado in Joplin. We sent teams of people out there. And there was a lot of people from around the country, but that's just kind of the spirit of Cleveland. So for us, this was just another opportunity to show Cleveland and what we are here in Cleveland and how we love others, without condition, without even knowing them. We don't need to know these kids. We don't need to know these families. We just know they need help. So
have you had any outreach from anybody in Cleveland from Boston? Do you know anyone in Cleveland from Boston?
we have some since this project started, we've had a lot of folks from Boston reaching out to us.
Oh, wow.
We've sent messages to the families of the children. The families have, so far, they want to stay anonymous. And obviously, yeah, this has just been a tragic thing, and they've gotten so much attention, they just really kind of want to not be at the forefront. But one of the families has communicated back to us that they want to meet us at the finish line. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, we've gotten a lot of support from Boston folks that are really excited about this project. It was interesting. One of the women that I talked to on the phone asked, "Why are you guys doing this? Are any of you from Boston?" And no, not that I know of. And I said, "So why are you doing this?" And my response was, because it's the right thing to do, and that's what we do in Cleveland.
What you could do to really gain some notoriety is right before you go into Boston, take your shoes off and run in barefoot. That could kind of give them a good visual. Look, here comes the team from Tennessee.
I like that. That's good. I was wondering where you were going with that, but
Yeah.
I got it.
And it'll just fit that stereotype they've
Those
always had in their
hillbillies from
Look,
Tennessee.
they can't even afford shoes, and they still ran here.
Whole way barefoot.
All the way.
Fearless. Us and our banjos.
I know. Fearless hillbillies from Tennessee. They'd love it.
Well, I may not be from Boston, but this is my third time running the Boston Marathon. And the first time I went there, my wife was on that finish line waiting for me to finish, and she was pregnant. And she was right there at that area where that could have happened. And even last year, I think even Dr. Kahn was at the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess his bomb didn't go off. That was underneath his bleachers, is what I've heard. Yeah,
Dr. Kahn is he's not a native Bostonian, but he does do some work up there with Harvard, and he spends a lot of time up there. So, it was personal to him as well in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I know that Mark Williams, who's a chiropractor here in town, he's been a runner in the Boston Marathon, and sort of hit home for him too, having been in that race. So 3 times, Johnny, you've been in the Boston?
This will be my third time, yes.
Now, is it a lottery system like the New York City Marathon?
It's qualifying. So you qualify by your age group, whatever. I mean, my age group, I think you had to run like a 305 or something like that to get in. So,
which for those who don't know, that is fast. That is really fast. And so he's, just to clarify, he's a qualifier, and this is a big deal in the running world. And so people are looking at me saying, Ryerson qualified? No. They also have charity slots. They have a few. They have thousands. They have 35,000 people running, I think, and like 10,000 of them are charity slots, which is, if you raise money for a charity, they can give you a bib to run in the Boston Marathon. And so
if you work for a nonprofit?
Well, yeah, and for us, what it was one of the charities that we're raising money from, they received a number of bibs or entries into the Boston Marathon, and the director there, called us and said, hey, would you guys be interested? And I said, well, we're raising money for y'all. That's not what we're doing. We don't need those bibs, so no thank you. Well, I told a few of my friends, and they were like, what, are you crazy to pass that up? And I said, it's not why we're raising money. Well, she called me back.
This was a lady from the Boston Marathon?
Yeah. She called me back and said, hey, look, we really want you guys in the marathon. This isn't just a gift. We think you're doing something extraordinary. We want you representing the marathon. And I shared with her, we got a qualifier, so we're okay. And she goes, no, we'd really love a small group of you, so we're willing to give you 3 more beyond
That's
the
awesome.
qualifier. Yeah.
How many people from the group will be running the marathon?
4 of us total.
Who's going to run it?
It'll be Johnny Clemens here, and he's going to win it.
No.
He's in it.
There's no time on this for me.
That's right.
There's so many miles that I'm going to be running before that.
He says that, and in his mind, he's thinking, I'm going to smoke you.
Nope.
He's our qualifier, so he's our strongest runner. Then I'm in it. Matt Carlson, who is the Habitat director, he's going to run Boston. Then Fred Garman, who we all blame as the original idea man behind this, and really pushing it forward, he's going to run it as well.
I'm surprised Brittany's not doing it.
I think she if I'm not mistaken, she had a surgery right after she got married, and she was a little iffy about the whole effort. So we didn't want to push her, and we didn't know what her status would be, but she's an incredibly strong runner.
We've got a phone call, so we'll go ahead and take that. Good morning. You're on Whoop.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. Well, I was just calling to tell you I'm out here at Oakwood Middle School, and the snow's coming down good.
That's awesome. And are you still there?
Yeah, we're still there right now.
Okay, so you think it's going to fall hard tonight?
I hope so. It's coming down good right now.
You want school canceled? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're hoping for it.
Is that a big plea to Mr. Johnny McDaniel? You're asking him to cancel school?
No, I don't know. Well, he'll do what he thinks best. He always does a good job.
There you go. That's a great answer right there.
Hey, were you listening in on the runners? They're running from Cleveland to Boston.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Would you like to be involved and run too?
And run too?
Yeah, you can run from Cleveland to Boston. They're not leaving until April 12th.
Oh, they aren't? Okay, yeah, I would be.
There you go. Plenty of time to train, man. Plenty of time.
They're raising money. You only have to run an hour a day.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see you there.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Awesome.
Well, he does bring up an interesting topic because we don't know what the weather is going to be like on this trip. I mean, it could be the way it's been this winter. Who knows what's going to be? I mean, it could be freezing or it could be
I feel
really
like
hot.
I need to offer you all of my Under Armour.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Earmuffs, hats, whatever.
Well, and the course is interesting. Johnny really does bring up an interesting point. If you map it out, the most direct route is right up and over top of the Appalachian Mountains. And so when you get up in those mountains, and they're not the Rockies, but they change the weather, and it is April, and so there's a possibility of snow, rain.
Who decides who runs what? Like, if you say, I'm a night owl, so I'll take the night.
Yeah.
Or somebody else says, I'm not really anything.
Here's what I think we're going to do. We're kind of going to do it more by a lottery.
I think that's a great idea.
Just whatever anybody gets, and then they can trade. So, like, if I end up with, a leg at 3 a.m. and I just can't do that, I may reach out to the team and say, hey, who's interested in trading the leg? Because I don't want to do 3 a.m. And I think you'll just get some swapping.
I think a lot of people are going to say, Johnny.
Well, I mean, if I was to get the donations out there, if somebody really wants me to see me run a marathon a day, it'd be more motivating to me if I could get somebody else out there to come out and donate a good amount of money for me to run a marathon a day, because that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And I need that extra help, and that will actually push me through each marathon if I could find somebody to do that.
I like that. Don't commit until somebody pays you to do it. That's
Yes.
right. They're going to donate the amount. And
I think that's a good idea.
And no one's done that yet, so I'm just running
that
as
lights
needed.
the fire on your bottom
That's
to make
right.
it move.
A $5,000 donation will get Johnny to do a marathon a day.
And
Now-
that's cheap.
Yeah, that is. It is.
That's cheap.
I mean, you
Yeah.
go out there and look at people that have ran a marathon a day, and it's an amazing defeat to actually do that, and to do that for this trip for 9 days in a row or 8 days in a row. Well, it'll be 9 marathons altogether. I mean, you don't see that.
What percentage of your goal have you met at this point?
I want to say we're almost halfway. We're right at 40. Not to give a hard percentage, it's 47 or 48%, I think, and it changes daily, and so we get updates once a week, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we're over 50%. And this isn't even the key fundraising time. The final month, I think, will be as publicity, and again, thank you for having us on. As we talk about it more and more people are aware, I think that last few weeks will probably be some of our best fundraising time.
The article in the paper was great. What other avenues do you have, or we're going to be looking to hear about this?
You know, it's pretty amazing. The New York Roadrunners Club, which they put on the New York City Marathon, they posted an article on their website, which was a really big deal. They have a lot of readers of their website. So we're getting some national attention. We have a lot of attention from the Washington, D.C. area, the metro area, with a couple of writers there. We are all doing articles, press releases to our hometowns. And like, for example, my hometown newspaper, I'll give a shout out to the old Norwalk Reflector, a town of all of 9,000 people.
Where are you from, Matt?
Norwalk, Ohio, way up north. So so this snow is not new to me, but I moved down here in 99 to get away from it. So, but they ran an article.
college?
Yeah, no, actually for a job. I appreciate you think I was in college in 99. It was a bit earlier than that.
You graduated college in 99.
A little bit earlier than that, but I'll go with you. I'm liking you better and better. So a lot of newspapers. The Daily Banner has been extraordinary. And then Whoop obviously has been fantastic in supporting us. So a number of outlets, and we're really pushing social media. And so that's a great way to find out about us. We do a daily update on Facebook. We have a Twitter
And your
account.
Facebook page is?
It's the same. If you go on there and just search Run Now Relay, you can find it. Of course, the official is, I think, www.facebook.com/Run Now Relay. So, and it's
Would you
spelled
say,
as it
Matt,
sounds.
are you the one in charge of all of this?
Oh, don't say that.
Put it back on Fred.
Yeah, let's blame Fred for that. It's really been a team effort. For example, Tim Spires, who is an engineer by trade, has really outlined the course. And that has just taken a massive amount of time because when we say course, it's not like you draw a line from here to Boston. He literally is going through picking out roads. He's picking parking lots where the vans can park and wait for runners and transitions.
That's a lot of
Oh,
planning
yeah,
and organization.
1,000 miles of that. And so he's got us, and you think about, going through rural Virginia is not all that big a deal. But when you start getting into like the suburbs of D.C. or downtown Manhattan, it's kind of complicated. So there's a big team of planners, runners, promoters. We have people going and speaking to like our local civic club. And I think we're really angling any outlet possible. And I got to note that Lisa's really holding up our producer here. Is that what your official title is, producer of this show?
Producer, director,
She's
CEO.
she's on our Facebook page right now. Oh, you just turned it off. She turned on our Facebook page, and the most recent picture is of Johnny. And I've gotten a lot of comments about that picture of Johnny.
I don't usually wear a shirt when I run, so.
And I think there's a lot of people that are happy about that. But there's, and of course, our most recent post was the Don Ledford thank you shout out.
When all the ladies are on the sidelines with their tongue hanging out, they're really there looking for Johnny.
Johnny, there's
Where is our shirtless man?
there's Vanessa Torrance and Robert Green, and so Facebook page really does a good job of highlighting the entire team and kind of the day-to-day activities and how the training's going and who our sponsors are. And so it's a great thing if you can go on there and like the page. We're already almost at 400 followers, which really shocks me.
That's great.
Yeah, so I think people are really enjoying the humor, the day-to-day updates, and then obviously the talk about what we're trying to do for our charity partners.
Tell me about your diet. What are you going to be eating along the way? So
Johnny?
Cooks is donating snacks, and Panera's going to feed you.
Johnny's our nutrition guy, so I'm going to throw that one to him.
Well, I'm going to be eating Panera, and
Nice.
I'm not going to pack anything. I'm not going to carry things with me. If I do pack anything, there's certain supplements that I'll keep a hold of me to help me recover faster.
Will you
Like-
eat bananas and things like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and of course Panera always has fresh bananas and fresh fruit. They do a good job of that, and what on that menu, Johnny? What is and this is a good question for you. I'm even interested. What what kind of, because obviously they're heavy on bagels there, the breakfast foods. What do you recommend for this type of training?
This type of training?
Yeah, or this type of distance running.
Well, you're just running an hour a day, so I recommend not changing your diet as much as possible.
So Big Macs and
How will you
Well, if-
transport the food and heat it up?
well, the snacks will not be heated up food. So the reality is, as much as we love Panera and they're a sponsor, there's going to be stops that we're going to have to make.
Sonic,
elsewhere.
McDonald's, things like that.
Preferably not that.
Well, on that note, if you are eating like McDonald's and all that stuff all the time, and for you to change that nutrition the day you're doing this event, it could mess you up.
Right.
I mean, even though it's not healthy, you need to keep it the same as in training as in during the day of the run, as much as possible. Make
That's
it
probably
less
a good
stressful on
idea.
your body as possible.
Yes. But yeah, for I think most of us, when you run a lot, you start leaning towards certain foods.
Yes, it
And-
changes you.
Yeah, and so I think most of us will as much as I love Sonic as much as the next person. I usually don't feel great after I eat Sonic or McDonald's so Panera was a perfect partner because there's some good nutritious options there that. I don't know if you've ever had their Thai chicken salad, but
Love
it's
it.
fantastic.
I had it about a week ago, and this past
It's-
weekend we ate there, and I love how they put the calories on things. And so I had a
Yeah.
big bowl of chicken noodle soup, and it was only 190 calories.
Yeah.
Then you get a cup of it, which is still large, 90 calories.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love their menu. They do a great job, and ours has a drive-through now. Woohoo! But
And remember, we'll all be riding in the van with you. So
gotta be conscious of our friends and
Yes.
neighbors. So,
Chili with extra beans is not a good idea since you'll be riding in close. Nor will Debbie Melton appreciate that.
yes.
can you imagine
Yeah.
being all sweaty and then jumping in your car or the van after a run and smelling McDonald's and
Oh,
that'd be awful. Be
yeah.
car sick.
Yeah, it's gonna
It does
be
stink up the
interesting.
car for a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does. It makes me think of that yoga retreat Andy and I went on last year. This year I'm going back, but I'm going by myself. He'd rather stay home with the kids, he said.
I was just gonna say, and so you said Andy on the radio. Andy went on a yoga
retreat with me.
Okay.
I think he was expecting to get lucky for the entire time, but instead all I got lucky with was with meditation, yoga, hikes to the waterfall.
He's like,
Not
what is
exactly.
this?
I know. You should have seen his face. We walked into the room and he saw 2 twin beds and he said, "Hey, I didn't sign up for this." But we ate vegetarian the whole time, mainly vegan, really. He lost 5 pounds that weekend. And then we were no further than 5 minutes out from the yoga retreat when we left. And we were in a Sonic drive-thru. He wanted his tater tots,
There you go.
his big burger.
Yeah.
He ruined it all. But yeah, that may be you guys. You may be needing a Sonic fix or drive by, start salivating at the grease and need that pick me up.
I've never been to an Asonic.
Oh, Johnny.
Did you know, Matt? Do you know this is something Johnny said on the radio a couple of weeks ago? Imagine this: his kids have never been to McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I mean, I believe it about Johnny. Johnny's.
we use it for a punishment. I said a couple weeks ago. If they get in trouble, I say we're gonna take you to McDonald's, and they'll straighten up right away. They think it's like the worst place in the world. It's funny.
You know what would happen to my kids if I threatened to take them to McDonald's? I wouldn't change anything. They'd be like, "Woohoo!"
I know it.
No, that is a really good point. I think we all challenge ourselves to raise our kids in a healthy environment. I think it's just so hard, And one thing I really applaud Johnny and his wife about is that they make that commitment to, eating healthy and modeling that for their kids. And it's just so easy on a busy day and after a ball practice to just, there's Chick-fil-A and swing through and get some nuggets to just, get them fed. And it takes real commitment to do it right. So they do a great job.
And it takes a lot of preparation and time in advance, because often we'll be in the car and the kids will say, I'm starving. And then I don't have anything on hand.
Yeah.
And I know that it's going to be another hour or two before we head home. So we've got to get something quick.
Yep.
That I can, throw the bag in the back seat and keep driving.
I'm fortunate. My two daughters are just those eaters. I mean, you put raw broccoli in front of them, and they're like, "Yeah, this is great." My son, not so much. My son's like one of those picky eaters that he's got like 3 foods that he'll eat. I mean, he doesn't even like pizza, which is un-American in my mind. But he's just very selective. My daughters, though, are a lot easier. We can put anything in front of them, and so we've really experimented with some really healthy foods, and they like it. Trying to get them in that habit early. So
absolutely, we have a debate at our house after church on Sunday. We alternate between where we're eating after church. So I prefer the gondolier. The kids prefer Mexican, and I don't really like Mexican because I think it's slop on a plate. No matter if you order the number 8 or the number 2, it's the same thing.
It's the same meal.
It's just arranged differently. And so I always say to the kids, I know you don't feel good after you eat it. It's just slop. It is. But they love the slop and they want to eat there. So we ate there yesterday. And so I got the chiles poblanos, but I got the vegetarian version because I mainly eat vegetarian. And so it was cheese stuffed. Well, when it came out, it came with the stems, the long, dark stems.
Right.
And so I like to tease the kids a lot. But what ended up happening was I nauseated myself because I teased them so much. And I said, sort of backfired. And the kids said, "What is that?" And I said, "Poblano means rat. So it's actually a sewer rat, and that's the tail." And they were, looking at it, and I said, "See, that's all the guts inside, the cheese and everything." So I said, the hair has almost baked off, but not quite. There's still some fur. And I went on and on and on about it. And so John Peter, my 5-year-old, he said, "I can't sit next to you anymore. It's just making me so sick." And so he moved on the other side of the table. And I looked at him, and he was eating his quesadilla with his eyes closed. And he said, "I just can't look at that rat tail on Mommy's plate anymore. She's eating it." And so Andy played along for a little while, but finally he got tired of the kids moaning and said, "She's just kidding. She's not eating a rat." And then when they looked at me, I said, "I am. It's a rat that was crawling underneath the sewer." And they just baked it up. So we went on and on about it. But then I realized so much of that teasing, I really had made myself sick and I couldn't eat it anymore.
That's what you get right there.
I know it. Maybe this is my underlying way of trying to get the kids away from eating Mexican and pestering us every Sunday eating there.
Well, I tell you, in this town, it's almost impossible not to eat at a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, I was actually there yesterday, too.
Were you?
Yeah, I was at one.
Which one do you like that's healthy? I mean, they all serve the same thing.
We're not perfect. I mean, but
Johnny's like,
the way we
eat food.
Yes, the way we do though, if we do go to something like that, we never buy a meal for yourself. We're always sharing. So,
that's good. Yeah.
we bought 2 meals and there was for 5 of us. So, and I barely ate any of it. So that's how it worked.
That was probably a good idea.
We always order water and lemons and.
Yeah,
so,
that was probably a good idea to share because, at every place you get overfed and you get too much food. I'll tell you something funny, though. That was a much better idea. And we often will order 3 meals, even though we have 4 kids, because it's a waste. They don't eat all of their food for sure. But a friend of mine she's Honduran and she works at a local Mexican restaurant. She always tells me about the people that come in on Tuesday on the 50-cent taco days, that they get an eclectic group of people because, they're coming in to really get the value, and they often bring all their kids, and they have large families, probably like the one that I have. I have a large family with 4 kids, but that they'll get 1 soft drink and then 4 waters. And then if you're waiting on that table, you have to refill their soft drink like 10 times because as soon as they walk away, they're all taking a sip out of the Coke.
That's right.
And then when she comes back by, she just left it, and they said, "Oh, we need a refill." And it's because they don't want to spend money.
That's right.
On a soft drink for everyone.
There you go.
Isn't that interesting?
That's strategic.
Yeah.
I got to remember that one.
Ways to save money, folks.
That's right.
Ways to save money.
That's right.
And so do you guys want to say anything else about the run?
Now, it's just a great way for Cleveland to get behind our neighbors, and it sounds crazy to consider Boston as our neighbors, but the way we look at it is everybody's our neighbor, and so there's children and families in Boston that still are in need, and so to get behind this project is a really good opportunity to show the people of Boston that we care. And the best way to do that is check out our Facebook page or check out our website, runnowrelay.org.
And if you don't have any money, so you don't have any spare change that you can spare, there are other ways that you can be supportive. Just show up in the for the run at the beginning on the 12th, April 12th.
Yeah.
And just be a supporter in that way to cheer them on. Bring your kids, because it's a great opportunity to show your kids we support people in other counties.
Yeah.
And we support other places, and in a good way. Something bad happened, but we can turn it into something good.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. Johnny, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
It sounds good.
Okay, well, great.
That.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and we'll end on that note. Let me go ahead and give you an update on who we're going to have in the coming weeks. Next week, on the 17th, we're going to have Madia, who is with the Chattanooga Yoga School, and she's going to come talk about this fantastic opportunity that you can get certified to be a yoga instructor. That's in Chattanooga, and it's nationally certified with the National Yoga Alliance. It's not the one that I went through, but it's a certification where you can get your 200-hour certification.
So are you certified?
I am.
Are you?
I teach 5 classes a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I do. I try to teach Andy. He will not listen. And so he just, what Andy says? Andy says, I probably shouldn't say this, but Andy says, I like it when you do yoga. Can you just do it naked and I'll watch? He's a good husband, isn't he? He's supportive.
That's right. Still in love.
I know. 15 years we've been married. Or he'll say he'll be in his chair and I'll be practicing a sequence that I'm going to teach it to a class the next day. And I'll say, Andy, I want to practice on him and teach him. So I'll say, Andy, get out and I'll show you this downward dog. He'll say, nah, namaste here.
Namaste. Yeah, I like that.
Namaste over here.
That's a good one.
So I know he's supportive from the chair. And so then on the 24th, so that'll be on the 17th. On the 24th, we have Rochelle Haddock and another lady. I can't quite remember her name right now. And they're both with the Siskin Foundation, and they're raising money for Styleworks, which is the huge, awesome fashion show that's in Chattanooga. We'll have a few vendors from Cleveland there, and it's a great time to bring a group of girls together, get a table. Belk usually puts it on, and they'll often have large designers that come into town. I believe last year was Karen Kane, and it's a fantastic thing to be a part of that raises money for Siskin. We have several families in Cleveland that send their kids to Siskin, and it's a great opportunity to learn more about that. On March the 3rd, we've got Karen Visor and Ken Cagle that are going to come on. They are going to talk about wearable art. So the silk screens and different things that they do. And that's very interesting. So
Ken's awesome, too.
I know. I love Ken. He's no longer with the museum, but he's still active in several nonprofits. And he's very interesting, isn't he?
He's a cool guy.
He's very interesting and warm and fuzzy and loving and just super sunshiny.
He is. That sums it up right there.
Isn't he, though? That's the truth.
It is.
And so that's what we have coming in the upcoming weeks. And thanks for tuning in. And it's snowing outside, according to the Ocoee Middle person. And so go get your bread and milk. And thanks for joining us.